Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And my next guest is coming to us all the way from beautiful New Zealand. I miss New Zealand. Verity Craft, thank you so much for coming online and being with us today. She is the co-founder of Intelligent Inc., where she helps thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers to transform their powerful ideas into books that inspire action and create lasting impact. With over 12 years experience in storytelling and publishing, Verity is the passionate and perfect tutor to help people to overcome self-doubt, own their voice, and share their ideas boldly with the world. She believes that when stories are shared, they don't just build legacies, they also transform lives. So welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe.
What if the book you were too afraid to write was the one idea that could change the world? Books have always been the lens through which I've learned about the world. As a kid, I would devour books with a hunger that could never be sated. I would wobble out of the library each week holding a stack of books as high as my head. I'd read them in the car, on my walk to school, under the sheets with a flashlight, well after my mum had put me to bed. And let's be honest, I still have trouble putting down a book at bedtime, even when I know my kids will be up early and I'm going to regret it. And through that reading, I learned about the world. From fiction, I learned about relationships, empathy, bravery, and imagination. And from nonfiction, I learned about politics, money, science, social justice, and eventually business. And through it all, I learned about myself. But what if I hadn't had those books? What if I'd never picked them up? Or more importantly, what if the people who'd written the books that shaped me had been too scared to share their ideas? Because of books, I learned to think differently. And that's exactly what we need right now. New ways of thinking to solve the problems that we face. You just need to open up any social media platform to see what's wrong with the world. And we won't solve the problems that we face by using the same thinking that created them. So if more people were thinking critically and creatively and were willing to share their ideas with the world, whether that's through a book or any other form of communication, really, we'd have a better chance of solving the problems that we're facing. But right now, there are too many people who are contributing value, who have amazing ideas and are doing some incredible work, who are staying in the shadows out of fear, and that's stunting the impact that they can have. I've seen it so many times, brilliant ideas that stay hidden because the people who have them doubt themselves. So many people say, I don't know if my idea is good enough for a book, or my ideas aren't unique enough, or no one would want to read what I have to say. And I know what it's like to doubt whether your ideas are worth sharing, because I've had so many moments where I've not wanted to share mine or been unsure about the path that I should take. I never knew what I wanted to do. I came out of high school having loved almost every minute. I was one of those weirdos who actually liked school, and I was terrified about what came next. How would I know what to do? How would I decide where to put my efforts? So instead of making a decision, I put it off. I didn't apply to university, and instead I headed off to work at a summer camp in Maryland, which was one of the best decisions I could have made. I traveled around the US, loved it so much that I came back for another year, and then traveled around Europe as well. And I ended up going to university to study languages because I knew that I loved communicating and travel. And to be honest, French had been my best subject right through school. So I thought, why not continue that? But when I came out of uni, I found myself back where I'd been at the end of high school, which was completely unsure what I wanted to do with my life and really terrified about what came next. I did some temp work and I was offered a full-time role in truck dispatch of all things. It was pretty good money and I probably could have worked my way up in the organization. But I knew that there was something more that I needed to do with my life. I needed to be creative to feed my soul. And I knew that I wanted to have an impact as well. So I said no, and I started looking elsewhere. And that's when I met my now business partner, Christina. She had set up Intelligent Inc. I didn't actually co-found it, although I've been around for so long that you might think that. But she'd set up Intelligent Inc. because it frustrated her no end how many amazing people and brands were out there doing incredible work, but not talking about it, or were sharing content that didn't reflect them in the best way. Despite having loved books my whole life, though, I didn't know if I could be a writer. So I'd spent my childhood with my nose in a book and even writing, now rather embarrassing stories to read to my friends. One particularly memorable one was about twins and their friends who were caught in an earthquake, and the first chapter was titled, Uh-oh. And I knew that I could write an okay essay, but I had no idea whether I'd be good at writing for other people. And I hadn't done any of the training that would normally lead to a job in copywriting or communications. So I felt like a complete imposter. And to be honest, even a little bit guilty at the thought of taking a job that so many other people would want, who'd been studying towards that and had been hoping to write for a living, like the other young woman that Christina was considering hiring. But despite my misgivings, when she offered me some work, I said yes. And that was the start of an incredible journey and partnership. And for those who are wondering, we actually ended up hiring the other woman 6 months later, by which point I was managing the team. That was over 12 years ago. And since then, we've grown a business and a friendship that I'm incredibly proud of, because it's been so focused on helping people have a bigger impact by helping them write now their very best book. For a long time, it was all sorts of content. And a big reason that we felt inspired and empowered to build a business in a way that was really aligned with who we are, instead of just the way that, the big bros tell you to do it, is because of the books that we read along the way. Books like Mindset by Carol Dweck and Essentialism by Greg McKeown and Think Again by Adam Grant. Plus what we learned from the incredible authors who we helped bring their books to life, like Susie McAlpine, who wrote Beyond Burnout, and Dr. Bex Bell, who wrote Inner Critic to Inner Coach, and Daria Williamson, who wrote Unleash Your Awesome. So if nothing else, I hope I've given you one hell of a reading list from this talk. And honestly, I still feel like I'm faking it till I'm making it. Like, I'm constantly out talking to speakers and entrepreneurs about how to grow their impact and build their business with a book. And yet I don't have a book. And I'm hoping that will come once my kids are no longer toddlers. I reckon I have to be realistic about life right now. But despite that doubt, every time I've pushed past the doubt and seen the impact that my work could have, it's reminded me why sharing ideas matters. You see, books are a powerful vehicle for change. I want you to think about a book that's had a big impact on you. Like, what did it do for you? How did it make you feel about yourself or the world around you? What did it change for you? Now, imagine if the author hadn't written that book. What would you have missed out on? So think about, how Brené Brown changed the way that we think about and talk about vulnerability. Had she not put out her books or done her TED Talk, we might have still been viewing vulnerability as a weakness instead of a strength. Or closer to home, I mentioned the amazing Dr. Bex Bell, who wrote Inner Critic to Inner Coach. She's an amazing human, a business owner, a speaker, single mom, and psychologist who spent years working with violent offenders in criminal psychology. And despite being a talented ballet dancer and then fitness instructor and then academic and speaker, Bex has struggled with imposter syndrome her entire life. And she's also had to learn how to overcome it, or at least keep moving forward while living with it. She had these incredible insights to share, pulled from both her own experience and her work as a psychologist. But although she said she'd had a book on her bucket list for a long time, she actually said she wouldn't have ever done it, except for the fact that a publisher invited her to. It took a publisher asking her to write a book about inner critics for her to actually consider sharing her ideas more broadly. And in the end, she said it pulled at her sense of purpose, that it felt like my duty. And because of taking that step, she's been able to have an incredible impact. Readers have said things like, I feel like you're talking directly to me, and I've just started a new job. It's my survival manual. Plus, for Bex, it's given her the confidence to keep sharing her ideas and to know that she can do anything she puts her mind to. Her story shows that when we push past the fear of not being ready enough, we create tools that actually can change people's lives. That's the power of sharing your ideas. Because when you share an idea, you never know who else is going to pick it up and run with it, or who they might impact in doing so. So think about the ripple effect you could have. If you shared your ideas and your story more widely, how could that help more people? What impact could you have if your unique talents and ways of thinking weren't limited to only those that you meet or work with personally? Every time you share your ideas, you inspire change. So what if the book you never wrote, or the keynote you never did, or the story you never told was the cure for someone's despair, the spark for the next big idea, the survival guide for someone you've never met? I wouldn't be here speaking to you today if I hadn't chosen to say yes to opportunities and take on challenges and share my ideas even when I felt like an imposter. So imagine what could happen if you could do the same. So whether you do that through a book, a speech, a video, a post, an email, stop hiding your ideas and start sharing them. Because every time you share your ideas, you inspire change, and that change could change the world.
I'm muted. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Verity. It's absolutely wonderful to meet someone who just loves the power of words, is empowering people not to take their stories to their graves. So many people are fearful of sharing who they are. Now, you have always found it easy to speak out and share your ideas. When did you first realize that this was something unique about you?
I think I've always known it, because I would look at, my friends who I would approach something like a speech competition at school, for example. And the part that I would find hard was deciding what topic to talk about, because I'd be so excited about so many things. And my other friends might find it really easy to come up with an idea. They'd have this great idea, and then they would absolutely shut down. My best friend hated the idea of being in front of people. And she would, she was easily the smartest person I knew. She had the best stories. She could connect with anybody one-on-one. Like, she's the sort of person that when we went traveling around the world together, she would just start up conversations with random people. And yet put her into a situation where she had to talk in front of multiple people or give her opinion, and all of a sudden she would just shut down. And it was so frustrating, because I was like, you're the best person in the world. Like, I just want you to know how great this is and how much you have to share. And that's been consistent. I've seen it so many times through our business now as well, as just so many amazing people that want to have want to have a really big impact, but are so scared to do it. And so it's one of the reasons why I love your platform as well, Gertrude, because I think it's so important that we share our stories and put ourselves forward for things.
That is so true. So what experiences made you aware of how many people struggle to share their ideas despite having incredible insights?
Honestly, I think my partner Christina probably was the biggest piece of that. So she's even written a book about it, Better, the more authentic path for the reluctant thought leader. Because one of the reasons that we work together so well is that we have really similar values and philosophy and what we care about, but we have totally different personalities. And for a long time, she would just get me to do all of the things that were basically, she'd feed me some ideas and then she'd get me to go out and talk about them. But it meant that she was missing out on being able to share them in a way that I think really connects with some people. So, she appeals to people that are more shy and are perhaps more considered. And so those people, we weren't getting through to them because, she wasn't able to share her ideas. But B, she also wasn't getting the kudos that comes from getting the ideas. I'm getting all of the applause. And and she's not, when really she's the brains. She gets to she comes up with the best things. And so I think that was really eye-opening, because also then when she did start to put herself out there, she started to attract more of those people, the ones who were scared, who were worried. And then we were able to help them and help them build confidence. And it was really cool to see that actually her putting herself out there inspired other people to do the same as well.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Now, how has your confidence in speaking and writing evolved as you grew older and met more diverse voices out there?
I think I learned that I am a good writer. I suppose that's it. You do it often enough and you gain confidence. I often say you gain confidence by taking action. So you don't gain confidence by magically, or you don't make progress by getting the confidence first and then taking action. You gain confidence by taking action. And so for me, that was really what it came down to, is I did enough of it that I went, oh, I actually am really good at this. And I can, this can be a piece of who I am. But I also learned the pieces that I loved. And one of the pieces that I really love is actually less doing the writing myself and more being able to pull that genius out of other people. So it's one of my favorite things now, is to be able to go, you are somebody whose voice would not normally be heard. How can I help coach you to get that confidence in the way that you write and the way that you share that story through your book, in order so that your voice can be out there? Because frankly, there's plenty of people who look like me who have a voice, and there's plenty of people who are as privileged as I am who have a voice. And so to my mind, part of my responsibility is to figure out, how can I help more diverse voices and perspectives come to the table, using, I guess, the privilege that I have.
Oh, I love it. So can you share the story of how you and Christina started Intelligent Inc. over 12 years ago?
Yeah, well, so Christina started it. So she started and actually hired me originally. So she found herself without a job and questioning what she wanted to do, and went, what do I love? I love to write. Who do I love to help? I love to help people who are doing good things in the world. And so she started off writing content for mostly not-for-profits in those early days. And then a couple of years in, she was looking for team members. She'd already hired one, and I came along with no idea what I wanted to do and thought, okay, I guess I could do this, and feeling a bit unsure, but she saw something in me, I guess. And so took me on part-time. And then over the years, we developed a really strong friendship and relationship, and ended up growing the business together. But it very much came from the same place, even though we did really different things. We wrote website content and blogs and social media content and things. It came from the same place, which was wanting people to be able to put their best foot forward and be able to share their ideas and their stories with the world in a way that was actually going to connect with people and help them.
Oh, I love it. It's interesting when two people find each other. You were already working together and you saw the power of actually doing it as a collaboration instead. That's awesome. So what is the biggest lesson that you've learned about collaboration and co-creation in running a business with a partner?
I think the big one is you've got to have similar values, and you've got to be working towards the same purpose. Like in reality, you can be really, really different people, but if you're not moving in the same direction, if you don't care about the same things, then it's going to be really hard to get on the same page. But actually, we've also learned that when you have that trust and you've built safety, you can be really honest with each other. So we probably call each other out on stuff that we wouldn't ever call anyone else out on, or not in the same way. We're quite blunt with each other. And we can do that because we've built so much trust and safety in that relationship. And then that's what makes us better. We have a tendency to approach things in really different ways. So I will get really excited about something and want to dive straight in and go, we could do this and this and this and this. And Christina's like, oh, slow down. I need all the information first. So I kind of speed her up and keep her going. And she makes sure that we're actually doing it properly and, not rushing into things that we shouldn't be. So, yeah, I think to me, it's about heading in the same direction, but recognizing where you bring different strengths to the table.
Oh, I love it. So you all complement each other's weaknesses.
Yeah. And the rest of our team help that as well. They definitely fill in some other gaps that we don't have too.
So how has Intelligent Ink grown from a passion project into a company that now helps people publish their books and amplify their ideas?
Yeah. So, well, we really started off with no idea what we wanted to do. We were writing, but we didn't really know what we were building. And to be perfectly honest, I would say that for most of our time in business, we have been figuring it out as we went. We didn't come into this with lots of business experience. We didn't come into it with some massive plan for growth. It's actually been a really organic journey towards figuring out where we could add the most value, what we were most passionate about, what we were most excited about. So now we've landed on, we don't actually help with the publishing side. We help people plan and then coach them through the process of writing their book and editing and getting an incredible manuscript, because we want to help people write their best book. Because we've recognized that that's the piece that we can be really good at and useful with, and we can partner with other people to do the other things. So I would say it's been less of a really strategic, planned out from the start journey, and more of a figuring out what works and what doesn't, and discovering what felt like was right for us and for our clients.
Yeah. Now, I know that you're obsessed with helping people make their ideas valuable so they can transform lives. What does that transformation look like in action?
Yeah, it's the way that I see it is that a book can change the way that somebody thinks, and that can change their behavior. But not every book does that. So there are books that, it would be really easy for somebody to set out and say, here's all my expertise, I'm going to put it in and kind of organize it like files on a computer.
Right.
What we're interested in is actually, how does it have an impact on the reader? In which case, you've got to really think about, who is that reader? What is the place that they're starting from? What do they believe? What do they think? What do they doubt about themselves? What are they doing right now? And then you've got to take them on a real journey of transformation to wherever you're trying to get them to. Yes. And so for us, like, I think I get far less excited when clients say, oh, I've sold this many books, or I've done this, than when they send us emails going, one of our clients who wrote the book Work School Hours sent us an email from somebody who'd read her book and said, I read your book, I implemented it, and I just got a 30% pay rise. Or which, from a woman who had been struggling since she came back from maternity leave, and this was her way of being valued properly. Or, somebody who, like I mentioned with Beck, somebody who emailed her and said, this is my survival manual right now. Yes. And I think it's remembering that there's a person reading the book on the other end of it, and what it's going to do for them that makes it transformational, as opposed to I'm just educating you, I'm trying to put information across. We want them to actually change lives. So that's got to come from knowing where that reader is and where you need to get them to.
Oh, I love it. Now, in your opinion, what makes an idea truly worth writing about and sharing with the world?
There's sort of three things that come together that I think make it really important. So one is what I just mentioned, it's that reader. So is it something that somebody actually needs? And it doesn't mean that there's no other books out there, because there's lots of, we can have hundreds of books about one thing and still want to read another one. But it's more, is there something that someone is struggling with, or is there, relevance for a reader? And then the second one is it something that you passionately care about? Like, is it something that is so unique and deep in your soul that you have to get something out about it? Because we've all read books that are just, I wrote this because I wanted to look good and be called an author. And the difference between those and something where you're like, this author put their heart into the pages of this is just, it's so different. And then I think for most of the people that we work with, and this won't be relevant for everyone, but for the people that we work with, it has to also be aligned to their business in whatever way that is. So it might, if they're a speaker, or if they're a coach or consultant or trainer, it has to be aligned in some way, because otherwise they're going to put a lot of time and effort into it. And it might have the impact on the reader, but it may not have the same impact on them and their life. So those are the three things that we look for. If you're less concerned about the business, then probably just the audience relevance and your passion are the two most important ones.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Now, how do you see the role of books evolving in an age that's dominated by fast digital content like TikTok and Instagram?
I think they're more important than ever, because people are, even when they don't realize it, they're craving depth. Because we are so constantly bombarded by things that you need some time to actually just focus and block it all out. And if you think about reading a book, it's one of the few times you actually do that. So, like, I know I'm really bad where I can be watching TV and have my phone going as well on the side. I don't know about you. It's terrible. But when I'm reading, I'm totally engrossed in that. And so I actually think that we're seeing more and more people are recognizing that that is a way of shutting everything else out and just focusing in a way that isn't possible with anything else. So I think it's become even more important. And I think the other reason that it's more important is that, now online, it's almost impossible to tell what is AI generated, what is, what's authentic and real to the person and what has been generated by a computer. Whereas generally with a book, it's very easy to tell if it's been AI generated, but B, you can't actually get copyright on a book that's been generated by AI. And in order to write a good book, you have to have done the human thinking and the creativity that goes into it. So I think as well, for people who are looking for, a bit more authenticity and looking for unique perspectives, books are always going to give them that. So yeah, to me, they've become even more important, and we're not, the numbers are not going down. They're just changing the way people are changing the way that they engage with books. It's not necessarily that they're not reading. It just might be that they're reading ebooks instead of physical books now.
Yeah. And I think even with physical books, there's something about holding a book and reading it. And they also say, especially with children's books, there's incidental learning where as a child is flipping through the book, they're going to find other information they weren't really looking for. So I don't think we can quite replace books just because of what's happening with the whole digital landscape of content creation right now. So it's an interesting time that we're living through.
Yeah, very interesting.
So if you could speak directly to someone who's listening, who has a powerful idea, but is scared to share it, what would you say to them to get them started?
The first thing I would do is just ask them who it's going to help. What's the impact that it could have? Not thinking about how it's going to get out there or what they're going to have to do about it to get it out there, but actually just focus on what is the impact of that idea if it was out there. So who would it be helping? How would it be helping them? Because I think that when you've got that fear, the pull of that purpose, the pull of that impact has to be strong enough to get you past that first block. And as I said, once you start taking action, you gain confidence. So once you start sharing your idea, whether that's through, a social media post, whether that's through getting up on stage, whether that is through starting to write your book, that will give you confidence and you can build from there. But to start with, you need that pull towards what you're trying to do. And in my experience, the people who are really trying to contribute and make a difference, the clearer you can get them on what's in it for the world and the impact that they could have, the more they're going to be driven to do that, because they feel like, as I mentioned with Dr. Beck Spell, she felt like it was her duty to put it out there. And I think that's what you've got to do, is you've almost got to get so clear on why it's important that it becomes your duty to get it out there.
I love it. My last two questions are a bit of a thought experiment. And the one I'm going to put you into the past. The young woman who went into the world of writing and business and is now empowering so many people with her work. If we could go back and have a conversation with the younger you and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
I think first and foremost, my nuggets of wisdom would be you'll figure it out. You have what you need to be able to figure it out, and you will work out what you're meant to do in the world in some way. I think the second would be to look for the magic in other people. I think all of the cool things that have happened in my life and that have led me to exciting opportunities have been through being curious and looking for what makes other people great as well. And that also leads you down paths and friendships that you never knew would happen. And then I think third of all would be to not be afraid to dream big. I feel like it's taken me quite a long time to think of or imagine what life could be like if, the world was my oyster, if there were no limits. And I feel like that's probably held us back a lot of the time. Like it's definitely kept us small, not necessarily in terms of like team size or in terms of money or, but what I mean is small in terms of impact. I think it's kept us small because we've been too scared to dream really big. And so now I'm trying to do that. And I feel as though all these opportunities are starting to come to light, not always in the way that I want them, but they get there. So I think that would be the third thing, is just to really dream big.
I love that. Last question is futuristic, and we're going to teleport you into the future to go and meet the 90-year-old you. And she's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, or maybe she's on a dance floor with science and technology. You'll be on your feet. You could go into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until that point. What will you say to her when you finally meet her?
Oh, well, my grandmother is still living at 103, so I have no doubt that at 90 I'll still be in good shape. I think that I would say to her, thank you for appreciating and making the most of each moment, and that I hope that you kept finding joy throughout your whole years, because to me, that's the part that's really easy to lose when the world is hard and there's some awful stuff going on. But actually it's something that we can choose to find joy. And so I hope that you've kept finding joy throughout the years, which I like to think I will.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Verity, for coming and sharing your story with us today. Really looking forward to hearing you again on the online summit next week. Thank you for empowering people to put their thoughts to paper and not take their ideas to the grave.
Thank you so much for having me, Gertrude. It was such a pleasure.
All right. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The HerStory Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a person who has got an idea, a book that is burning inside you, we brought you an expert today who can help you write your best book, as she says. Please reach out, get the support and help that you need, and don't take your story to your grave. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the HerStory Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the HerStory Circle podcast for more updates. and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.